boy, they're kind of telling the Odyssey with Amphoreus. Any other Ho-Yo game, we're at the halfway point of the story, and realistically, next patch, that's it, we're done. But with Amphoreus, we're not even close, man, and the questions just keep piling on. March 7th's condition is worsening. Why? The Trailblazer is shown dying in Castorice's hands at the Sea of Flowers. Why? The Trailblazer was unaffected when touching Castorice. Why? The mysterious Flame Reaver put down 2 Titans and 3 Chrysos heirs at light speed. Why? The Flame Reaver is dead. Maybe? Why? Where did the Flame Reaver come from? Why? Mem had the same flashback as Cyrene and recognizes the Flame Reaver as the one who killed Cyrene. Why? Kephali fell over 1,000 years ago. Why? Anaxa was dead before Xerxes brought him back. Why? All the Chrysos heirs are doomed to die after ascending to divinity. Why? Shortly after revealing to Phainon the only thing that can kill him is a stab to the 10th vertebrae in his back, mydei gained a prophecy that he too will die to a stab in the back. Why? Many questions, my friends, many questions. But before we can even begin to address them, we must all be on the story starts right where it left off at Phainon's trial. There's some unease within the group at the prolonged nature of his trial. Their worst fears are confirmed when Phainon tells us she can no longer hear Phainon's voice within the trial, stating a radiant sun is burning him up. So, Aglaia instructs mydei and us to go into the trial and drag Phainon back to the world of the living. We enter a mirror of the actual trial and see Akama consumed by war against Castrum Kremnos. Mydei makes a comment about Nikador's trial being what one fears the most and surmises that what we're witnessing is what Phainon fears most. We eventually come across a Kremnoan named Perdiccas on his last legs versus an Achaemen. I let him die, cause who am I to interfere with nature? However, while dying, Perdiccas questions why mydei has abandoned them. The Achaemen then dies, and we fight his killer before coming across Cartonis, who's very different from the one we know, and speaks to Mydei in a brash tone, wondering if Mydei has come to kill him. Don Hung then black screens the mean Cartonis and confesses when entering the trial he saw his past, and Mydei confesses that what we're witnessing is currently his past. We march forward and eventually come across Nikador, the fucking OG big dog, my nigga Nikador. He states he knows they've come to rescue Phainon, so Mydei says, "Bet, hand him over," but Nikador says no, and confirms to us that Phainon failed his trial. Nikador does, however, say we can fight him for the boy, and Nikador then goads Mydei, reminding him of his mother, stating she challenged the former king, Mydei's father, to a duel for mydei sake, even knowing she would die. And mydei becomes angry.
Don't you dare speak of her.
Why not? She challenged the former Kremnos king to a duel, even knowing that it was a deadly trap, all to protect your dignity. Are you suggesting her efforts were for naught?
Her death was caused by you, the incarnation of strife. How dare you talk about her past? Enough of this nonsense. You should be wielding your weapon at the god of strife. Battle me and put a swift end to this! Rip your chest apart, Titan. The same way I ripped apart that former king. Found you.
Hey, you. Finally awake.
We bring Phainon back and let him rest. Castorice mentions Phainon's trial most likely had to do something with the village he came from that was lost to the Black Tide. We finally ask about this said Black Tide and are told it's something that drives people, gods, and titans mad. It first came during the Era Bellica alongside the Titans of Calamity. No one knows where it came from or how, and thus came to be known as the Black Tide. Despite being titans of calamity, they too attempt to fend off the Black Tide, as was seen with Nikador. Mydei asks what happens now with the core flame, and Aglaia sorta just looks at him and says about 1,000 words that essentially boil down to, you gonna take that core flame, little nigga. In private with Dong Hung, he begins to wonder if the Black Tide is actually a stellaron. Regarding the nature of Amphoreus, he surmises they cannot have always been isolated from the rest of the universe due to the birth of Titans and the Black Tide. However, the one nick in Dong Hung's theory he admits is there simply aren't any signs of a stellaron, the biggest indicator being us. Our stellaron has been silent the moment we step foot on Amphoreus. We switch POVs to Mydei, who admits to Tribby that during Nikador's trial, he saw something that terrified him. He also reveals he knows everything going on regarding the trial is a sham. Tribby and Aglaia had Phainon take the trial knowing he'd fail, so as to have Mydemos take his place and inherit the core flame. He's not angry, but says he wishes to speak with his people. We find a boomer named Kratos, who happened to be Mydei's teacher. Mydei came to discuss the future of the Kremnoans with him, but Kratos immediately begins chastising Mydei for considering giving up Nikador's divinity, which he likens to Mydemos giving up the throne and forsaking his people. Kratos becomes enraged as he implores onto Mydei the plight of the Kremnoans. They followed Mydei to a foreign land that hates them, and all they yearn for is to return back to Castrum Kremnos, but Mydei is considering giving all that up. He continues to speak of how Mydei's mother died before the king to save Mydei, and how Mydei would wind up killing the king. And to Mydei, that's the point. Strife is what led to their downfalls. What's the point in continuing it? Kratos then tells us the one who founded Castrum Kremnos is named Gorgo. He then flames Mydei for some more. Boy, it's really laying into him, to prompting Mydemos to just leave, but not before giving him one piece of advice. Never reveal your vulnerabilities to anyone. We get a flashback sequence where we see King Europon getting ready to chuck his son, baby Mydemos, into the Sea of Souls, thanks to a prophecy that stated Mydemos would end the Kremnoan dynasty. Mydei's mother objects and challenges the king to a fight for the throne right then and there, which he accepts. We then swap over to the Trailblazer, who was asleep but then felt a chill and awoke to see castorice standing over them like fucking John Wayne Gacy. Castorice tells us Aglaia wishes to give us a gift, so we go to see her, but are interrupted when we see Tribby and Trian arguing with one another over a ruby that Trian swears is from their homeland, Yanissopolis. Tribby says it isn't and refuses to buy it, causing Trian to run off. Cass, having seen all this, buys the ruby, not caring if it's real or not, because it just seemed to make Trian happy and wants to gift it to her in the future. We meet up with Aglaia, who hands us a dew of divine blood, stating only 12 bottles are said to have ever existed, and the last 3 are in Achaemen vaults. Aglaia then reveals with this gift she'd like for Achaemen to officially establish an alliance with the Trailblazers, which susses Dong Hung out because that would force the Trailblazers to get involved in the political conflicts within Achaemen, specifically the Council of Elders. It's then Barbara that appears before us. On this world, she is still a healer. Not a lot of upward mobility, huh? And her name is Hyacine, another Chrysos heir and a follower of Aquila the Sky Titan. She's usually off at the Grove of Epiphany teaching or healing. Coincidentally, Hyacine is headed back to the Grove right now, so Aglaia brings up she needs a messenger to send a message to the Grove that Achaemen both wants updates on Black Tide research, and now also wants Xerxes, the Titan of Reason's core flame. This is all too serious for upbeat little Hyacine, but Aglaia assures her that the job is up to Trian and Castorice. This works out for Castorice, who wants to ask a Professor Anaxa about Thanatos. We ask Castorice some questions. She tells us Thanatos is the one responsible for her curse. Anaxa is an esteemed professor responsible for teaching all the Chrysos heirs about the Titans, and the Grove is an academy that currently watches over Xerxes' core flame. As we're about to leave for the Grove, we come across Onega dying from the Black Tide, so Hyacine stays behind to heal him while we march ever long. We get back to the Grove and see a big-ass tree that's actually Xerxes' body. As we explore the Grove, we notice nothing, which is odd. We come across the soul of a Dryad, and when Mem reads its mind, she says the words black, cloak, and sword, Castorice begins to feel uneasy, stating death is all around them. As we go further, we begin to see bodies of scholars as well as that of monsters, creations of the Black Tide. Castorice wonders how the grove could have been overran so quickly and chalks it up to the fall of strife because, as we know, Nikador was for a time holding back the Black Tide, but with no Nikador, the Black Tide and all who were fighting against strife can move around Amphoreus much easier. Back with Aglaia, Hyacine tells her they saved the man's life despite severe Black Tide poisoning. Aglaia then sends Hyacine off, telling her to grab some rest, before turning to tell Tribby that the man came from the grove. Through telepathy, Tribby confirms through Trianne that the Black Tide has invaded the grove, and there doesn't seem to be any survivors. They can see the core flame, but they don't know if Xerxes has been affected by the Black Tide yet. Aglaia orders the core flame retrieved, survivors scoured for, and Anaxa found, which he should still be alive for no other reason than if Anaxa knew he was going to die, Aglaia says he dragged the Titan and the core flame down with him. Back with the Trailblazer and friends, Trianne relays the message, and Castorice elaborates on Anaxa, stating Aglaia does not trust him, as he doesn't believe in the prophecy or Titans, and during assemblies, he always votes to oppose the Flame Chase journey. Xerxes is cool with it though, cause, reason. We decide to split up, and Trianne looks for Anaxa cause she can fly, while we and Cass look for the core flame. Trianne says if we get into trouble to call her, and she'll open a sentry gate for us, but Castorice pleads with her to not open a gate unless absolutely necessary, as Trianne's body is not in good shape, and Trianne obliges. As we march everlong, we come across a locked door and wonder if Orynyx's time power can help open it, which immediately prompts Anaxa to appear and flame us for needing to use divine power to open a fucking door. This isn't Anaxa, however, merely a shattered piece of his soul left behind to inform passerbys of where they must go. However, each time a fragment of his soul emerges, that part of his soul is being consumed. He tells us most of the sages managed to escape when the grove got jumped, and that the core flame is currently on the way to Akama. Actually, that's all wrong. Us seeing the message means something went wrong and we must head to the Luminary Throne to retrieve the core flame and their corpses. When discussing with Castorice, we learn Anaxa came up with a theory that all beings originate from the same source and have similar compositions or a soul. This theory is called Neusporism. The Luminary Throne is at the top of the tree and where the core flame is. As we venture forth, we come across a speaking statue, only to learn it wasn't the statue, but rather this mysterious, ghastly apparition who mocks us for thinking a statue could speak. Castorice is extremely wary of this individual, and the ghost lady introduces herself as Calypso. Castorice has severe doubts as to her true identity, given she can't sense whether the person before her is dead or alive. But regardless, she bestows unto Castorice wisdom. Anaxa is alive. She saved him and he's currently in the Luminary Throne. We head to the throne and on the way notice Nestia's divine butterfly, which was meant to act as a safeguard to Xerxes' core flame, is non-responsive. We eventually get the motherfucker to respond and begin to hear Nestia's illusion crying, which causes unease within Calypso. She speaks to Nestia of a promise they once made together, and Calypso is ready to sacrifice herself, and then one day they will reunite, calling Nestia her love. We immediately clock that Calypso is actually Xerxes, and she confirms it. She says when the grove was overrun, she split her core flame into 3 artifacts. On the way up to the throne, we got 2 of them, and as for the last piece of the core flame, it's currently in Anaxa's body. She wants us to piece the core flame back together so she can get her true form back while also saving Anaxa and bringing the core flame back to Akama. In addition, we will also take down the one responsible for taking down the grove, a mysterious black-robed swordmaster who led the Black Tide to the grove. Once we reach Anaxa, the core flame should be reformed, and Xerxes is confident she can then take him. We find the black-robed feller standing over Anaxa, and Mem gets a flashback sequence identical to the one Cyrene had, showcasing this is not the first time she's met this feller. The Reaper states we aren't demigods and tells us to stand down or die. Mem begins to panic, telling us to run, stating we won't be able to defeat him, but we figured we'd win.
Be careful.
One slash. your souls to the fire.
Not good.
Be reduced to
In that case...
Can't be killed in a single blow. You are indeed no ordinary human. This is bad.
Century Gate,
We lost bad, and back in Akama, Trian apologizes for opening the gates and complains of pain, then leaves. Castorice tells Anaxa he should meet with Aglaia because he bears the core flame of reason, but first, Anaxa takes a detour to inform the relatives of the dead their loved ones died defending the grove. We go to Aglaia, but she's gone, so Anaxa leaves, all the while complaining of Xerxes, who's pretty much just taking up residence within him. Castorice turns to us and recaps the situation while also telling us no one knows who that Black Swordmaster is. Tribby, who traveled across thousands of different cities, has no recollection of such a powerful enemy, all the while Castorice can merely surmise he is not a servant of Thanatos, but nonetheless has sent many to their deaths. Speaking of death, Castorice asks us the big question. When we caught her in the grove, why didn't we succumb to Castorice's curse? And we don't really have an answer for her, and that's where it ends. We leave and reunites with Donhung, who's been looking into Amphoreus. Because Aquila is the one who sealed Amphoreus from the rest of the universe, he's wondering if Hyacine can help get us back to the Express. He then tells us to get some rest and stay away from the hot baths. We then switch shots and go back in time a little bit. Tribby senses that Trian used the Century Gate once again, which concerns her, as when Trian left, she was already hardly able to speak in complete sentences, but they cast their worries aside for now and decide they'll visit the baths, where they find someone seemingly fighting for their lives, and Hyacine concludes there's nothing seriously wrong with the individual, as they've just spent too much time in the hot bath. When we go to the bath that's seemingly claiming lives, we see a lot of people passed out, including Phainon, who's barely clinging on to life, and blames mydei, who simply declares victory. A flashback shows the two wanted to see who could withstand the super hot baths longer, and evidently, mydei won. Although the sound effects they make, it just sounds like this. I mean, I'll just play it.
What? You're chickening out already?
Do whatever you want.
Aglaia informs the two that there were some others seriously affected by their duel, all the while Phainon complains that the game wasn't fair because mydei had less clothes. I mean, nigga, you didn't. This seems like something that was super fucking obvious. The boys leave while the girls take to the baths, and Tribby tells Hyacine an abridged version of how she came to be, telling her she was once an adult like Aglaia, but after inheriting Yanis's divine authority, gaining the power of passage, she was forced to split her soul. Every time a Century Gate is opened, it puts strain on the Tribbies, further regressing them towards infancy in both body and mind, and thus, this is why there are a lot of Tribbies, and also why there aren't a lot of Tribbies anymore, if you Tribby begins to feel pain and informs everyone Trinan is in danger. We swap shots to Phainon and mydei, and after flaming each other thoroughly, they get to the topic of their hometowns, and Idisa Lizii is brought up, where Phainon simply states it's a small village that disappeared many years ago, and he was forced to see it once more in Nikador's trial, including the murderer who killed Cyrene. However, this time he clearly saw who did it. Someone with a black cloak, scary mask, and broken sword. Who could that be? Phainon fought it in the trial, but got sent to the Shadow Realm. mydei then confesses aside from Akama at war, he saw his old comrades once more who had been with him his whole life, and long story short, they're all fucking dead, okay? They fucking died, dead, gone, vamoosh. They're all dead now. Mydei reveals that when his father threw him into the Sea of Souls to kill it, kill him. Holy fuck. He actually granted him immortality. How about that, man? After killing King Yerapon, Mydei had the Kremnoan detachment, the people that left Kremnos with him, stay in Akama rather than return to Kremnos because Kremnos just isn't in good shape right now. Taking the core flame of strife would give Mydemos a reason to finally return his people to their homeland, but he doesn't know if that's the best choice, hence the hesitation. It's then Truby runs over and tells Mydemos that Kratoros has abducted Trinen. We arrive at the Vortex of Genesis and learn Kratoros stole Trinen so as to have her guide him to the Vortex so he could take Nikador's trial and maybe succeed. He didn't, but, you know, gotta respect the effort. Good try, Kratoros. Kratoros begins flaming Aglaya and correctly brings up she's indirectly caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people via the Chrysos War. In any case, Aglaya gets ready to execute the nigga, but Tribby and Trina intervene, stating they know Kratoros only cares for his people, and with the aim of repairing the relationship between Akama and Castron Kremnos, they want to have him witness the source of the prophecy himself. We then get a flashback to Mydemos standing over a defeated King Yerapon, who has no idea the one who defeated him is his son. He commends the Achaemenid warrior and tells him to slay him, but not before asking his name. Mydemos says it's Mydemos, and Yerapon realizes he's been had. Mydemos will in fact end the dynasty, and Mydei says he's killing his father not for the crown, but to avenge his mother. Regardless, Yerapon, extremely horny for death at this point, begs Mydei to kill him now. Back in the present, Mydei visits my nigga Cartonis, who gives him his mother's lost ring, fished from the Sea of Souls. He then relates to Cartonis' problems of becoming king, you know, something like, if I do this and bring them home, they get trapped in an endless cycle of violence once more, and that's what terrifies me, because we Kremnoans, we deserve better. We then swap shots to Tribios and her mother. Little Tribios is speaking of a dream that seems to rather be a premonition. Tribios describes seeing many hers chilling and floating. She then mentions in the dream she saw a black wave destroy the island, which Mother takes to mean the black tide. We then enter some sequence I just cannot be fucked to decipher. When did they start merging story quests and character quests into one, bros? I don't know. She ends up in like hell or some shit.
Yes, please lend me your ears. In the black mist, as death and fate draw close. On the bloodied earth, the living dead, but ghosts. What is this world? It mirrors your maze-like fate. What is this world? A silent lament without a trace. What is the past? Wandering ghosts that linger. What is the future? Souls scattered by fate's finger. What is the start? A voyage born in solitude. What is the end? The spirit, lonely and subdued, lonely and subdued, and subdued, and subdued, 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 subdued.
Mama, are you going to leave me?
My sweet girl, I will never leave you.
Yeah, good vibes all around. These many dolls are meant to signify tribbies who have fully reverted and aren't with us anymore, and boy are there a lot. In the present, they discuss Trian potentially relinquishing her role as gatekeeper so she can live out the rest of her days worry-free, but the souls of Tribios meeting their end is something they all agreed on. We then swap shots to Phainon and Anaxa. Phainon seeks knowledge on the black-robed swordmaster, but Anaxa says he has nothing, no information, but does give Phainon a torn piece of cloth from the assassin's clothes. Phainon then speaks of his village, again, that was murdered by that dude, prompting Anaxa to remind him, oh, hang on there, buddy, cool it. No one in Akama, or even Amphoreus possibly, can kill that black motherfucker right now. Even Xerxes gave up trying to fight that. Due to this, Anaxa reasons the Swordmaster may have come from beyond Amphoreus, and offers to tell Phainon one more thing, but the screen cuts to black. Over with Tribbies, they head to visit Orynyx and are seemingly warned multiple times to fuck off. They assume Orynyx is simply being antisocial, however, when they finally reach Orynyx, they find nothing. Back with Anaxa and Phainon, Anaxa reveals he thinks the Swordmaster is after the core flames as it has a vessel that can hold core flames as well as a sword that can detect core flames. Anaxa dubs the man the Flame Reaver and says they have 3 targets to capture all the core flames: Anaxa, the Vortex of Genesis, and Orynyx. With regards to Kefali and Fagusha's core flames, they're protected by their own means. Nobody fucking knows where Thanatos is, and Anaxa is taking a wager that the Flame Reaver can't fly high enough to reach Aquila. We switch back to the Tribbies, and Trinan begins warning them they should leave as they aren't alone. It's then Trian finds a black cloth, and the beginning of the end arrives. Tribby awakens to find a lot of people over her, but Trian is nowhere to be found. Phainon surmises the Flame Reaver took out Orynyx and their core flame. We head back to Aglaia, who's a bit taken aback at the fact that the Flame Reaver took out 2 Titans in like 8 nanoseconds. Phainon says the plan to take out the Flame Reaver is to lure him using Anaxa's core flame of reason, then have Mem recreate Castrum Kremnos of the past, and trap him there. At the Vortex of Genesis, we see Amydamos and Phainon speaking with one another about their upcoming battles. Phainon and the Flame Reaver, mydei and Nikador's trial, which he has decided to take for a reason that's explained in like a story about a fucking goat and a mountain or some shit? I don't know. His personal reason is he will shoulder Nikador's burden, assume his divinity, return home, and fight against the Black Tide for as long as need be. mydei warns Phainon that should a day come when mydei gets corrupted and stands opposed to the flame chase journey, that he must stab him in his 10th vertebrae, as that is the only way to kill him. You did not heed your master's word, mydamos. We finally link up with Tribby and find the monster.
Finally. In the memories of the dead! Executioner! At long last.
Embarrassing. You didn't come down from the sky? This city is mine anyway. So why shouldn't I go through the front door? Heed my call! I am the Lance of Fury. The agony this world needs! Come to Castrum Kronos.
The people of Akama caught word Orynyx was put down like a dirty dog and cast a glance at the Chrysos heirs, but with Orynyx's core flame in tow, we head back to Aglaia, but first send Anaxa on his way so he and her just don't fight. In other news, they found Trian. Not kicking, but, they found her. In addition to Trian, they found someone else clinging to life, someone who fought tooth and nail against the Flame Reaver to retrieve Trian's body. That person was Kratoros. A flashback shows Kratoros standing before Trian, wielding not even an inch in the face of death. Back in the present, we're at Trian's, a funeral? Hyacine too is confused, as according to her, Trian didn't die, but for some reason has turned into this doll here. Yes, this is Trian now. Trinan clarifies, Trian used up all her time from Yanis, and her spirit is now in heaven. In other news, Kratoros is still kicking. We go to see Aglaia, who notices a missing Anaxa, but brushes it off for now. With regards to Orynyx's core flame, the Chrysos heirs are in a bit of a jam, because their core flame, Orynyx's core flame, was meant to be one of the last ones captured due to their friendliness towards humanity, meaning the hunt to find an heir to bear the core flame of time wasn't really a pressing matter. For reference, after 1,000 years of searching, Tribios and Aglaia managed to find like 5 people even capable enough to ascend to godhood, none of which were time. Mem suggests the Trailblazer inherit it, and, that really doesn't go anywhere, because we immediately swap shots to Mydemos, who's with Kratoros. Kratoros is pleased Mydemos is now a god who's embraced his destiny to bring his people home. Now is the time, so let's go. Mydemos says no, and states he finds the very notion that Castrum Kronos is built upon, strife, to be absurd. Callously disregarding one's life for battle is meaningless, and the cities they ravaged in the name of Nikador are mere anthills in the eyes of the gods. Mydei says he's renouncing the title of king, and the dynasty is over, bringing the prophecy of his life full circle. Before leaving, Mydei says goodbye to some people. When discussing with Aglaia, they share the end prophecy they received when ascending to divinity. Aglaia's was,
"You shall have your final bath in warm and radiant gold."
Just as cryptic as all the other prophecies.
while Mydei's was,
"One day, you shall die with a wound in your back."
Well, that is a rather straightforward scenario.
I wonder how many people know of his weak point. Anyone in particular we shared the secret with recently? When speaking with Hyacine, Mydei tells her to prepare herself for inheriting Aquila's divinity. Castorice asks if he can sense Thanatos. He says he can't. He then visits the Trailblazers and says he's off for Castrum Kronos to fight against the Black Tide and never return again. Alright, bro. See how long this little departure lasts. He then finally says goodbye to brother Phainon before nonchalantly revealing he's aware Phainon told Cartonus of his mother's ring in the Sea of Souls. With all that out of the way, the king returns to his kingdom.
The son of Forgo will be crowned in blood! The son of Forgo will be crowned in blood!
Back to the Trailblazer, we're at another Trian funeral, which Phainon quickly turns into a fucking Q&A asking if Tribi can still unveil the source of the prophecy to them, and what prompted her to start all this. Trinon obliges, but Tribi stays behind with Castorice, who gives Trian's doll the ruby from earlier. Tribi admits it was a real ruby from Yanisopolis, but it signified a bad omen, which Trian must have forgot about. We head back to Yanisopolis of the past a long time ago, which has got another 5 years left before it's wiped from the face of the earth. We then see the Tribios of then speaking with Orynyx one last time, and Orynyx warns Tribios from following the prophecy that will lead to the deaths of countless humans and spread Tribios into 1,000 Tribioses. Trinan mentions their mother died during a ritual aimed at seeking Yanis's guidance. However, Kefali was the one who responded because in another part of the world at the same time, Kefali fell. We get a flashback to the night before the ritual. Tribios' mother all but confirms she was bound to die at the ritual, telling Tribios to sleep through it all and that she'll be back tomorrow, or the next tomorrow, or the tomorrow after that, but if she never comes back, that means the ritual worked and she chased the black tide away and reached the worlds on the other side where she'll be waiting for Tribios one day, or tomorrow. Tribios decided to set off on her journey shortly after Aquila opened her eyes for the last time. We head to the Yanis vault where Yanis' heart is and where the core flame is, and Yanis is still conscious. Tribios states she's here to assume Yanis' duty, but Yanis warns her that her soul will be shattered into 1,000 pieces. Yanis then warns her that despite inheriting the core flame, Tribios will still be weak to the point even a mortal can kill her, but Tribios worries not. Yanis asks one more time if Tribios is ready, and she says yes. Tribios then inherits the core flame, sadly, might I add, and is chased out of Yanisopolis by all the fucking people of Yanisopolis who want the core flame back. But as Tribios of the past is about to set off for her journey, Phainon asks one final question.
But nothing happened. What was making her or you hesitate at this moment? If she had known this flame chase journey would proceed as the Titan foretold, bringing about great suffering and fatalities, including her own, would she still have chosen to walk through the gate and start her journey?
I think the answer is already within you. And you've made your own decision.
What? You can hear us?
Not really. She can neither see nor hear us. Yet she knew that one day, someone would return to unveil this dust-covered memory. We can never know for sure who helped us back then. But that kindness was forever engraved in our hearts, motivating us to move forward. Time has modified this memory into a special letter. It's a letter written by Tribios of the past and sent to her future self. In this memory, it is Tribios of the future who overcomes all difficulties for her. And
yes, you'll remember it all. And then find your way back to the gate where everything began. Here, I will set sail toward the distant horizon. Here, you have traveled far on your way home. Such is the maxim that unveils Tribios' fate. You shall shatter into 1,000 fragments and wither on the soil of foreign lands. So, if you ever feel lost, return to this place. I'll keep this memory here for you. Or for me, to embrace it again.
Back with Anaxa, we see Xerxes behind him who chastises Anaxa for constantly rejecting her with his soul. Speaking of his soul, Xerxes tells Anaxa there really is not much of it left, and if nothing is done, she's gonna be taking over the body and running the show. Anaxa says he's not worried and knows Xerxes ultimately wants the answer to the question, what are we? Anaxa says he knows the answer and he doesn't even need the Swordmaster's blade. Lucky guy. They do, however, need castorice and death. Aglaia then pops up and wants to discuss Anaxa's situation with Xerxes. Anaxa gives a cheeky response, which prompts an even cheekier response from Aglaia, causing Xerxes to intervene, asking if death really means anything to Anaxa. Confused, he asks the Titan to elaborate, who then reveals before placing the core flame into Anaxa, he was already dead. back with the Trailblazer, Dan Heng asks us if we're sure we want to take Ornyx's time trial, and we say yes. Dan Heng then reveals the Council of Elders are onto them. He then invokes March's name, and we get like I think this is like 7/10 of a second shot of March on the Express consumed by ice. And then Tribby begins speaking. She says the long day for Akama has passed, and she says some people came and some people left. Forever, just like every other day of the journey. She says if they are to chase flames, they must grow used to farewells. However, no one back then could see that death's arrival would be so sudden. All the while, we see a dying Trailblazer in the arms of Castorice. Tribby tells us even the Trailblazer couldn't escape the Reaper, and what people gained and lost in the trial of death was heavier than life itself. Then Tribby reveals Cass's destiny as revealed by the prophecy.
At the end of the Sea of Flowers, the souls of the living shall warm thy fingertips, and after an embrace, there shall be eternal separation.
Oh, mighty big patch next patch is big trial of death, big Thanatos patch. Oh.